Welcome to A Little Less Stupid, songs and stories to be dumb, less, and smart, more. Today, on A Little Less Stupid, we are going to be a little less stupid on how and why we talk to people. And so I sat down at 7 a.m. at this gray desk with two large computer screens in front of them. There were 24 of these desks, all in rows of 8, on this sales floor in Seattle. And I was about 2 weeks into this new sales job. And I had my coffee. It was about time to start making calls to the East Coast. And I saw the seat to my left where Steve sat the day before. And I didn't like Steve, but he had been let go the day before, and I didn't want to be like him. And now on this plasma screen where all the salespeople's names were, my name was a little closer to the very bottom. And I was worried. I knew I was new and getting my sea legs, but I was worried, am I gonna be next? And I didn't feel like I was horrible, but I definitely had been doing very average in regards to getting finished and closed sales at this software company. And so I had written down how I was going to better communicate the benefits of this product. And then I just started making calls. I put my headset on. We were going to war. And I started making these calls. And then 2 hours later, 50 calls in, dude, it kind of just hurts a little bit near the front of your chest, where you just feel like you keep getting hit with people hanging up on you. Even voicemails feel like rejection because you're not talking to somebody. And then one person by around lunchtime had fully cursed me out, which felt kind of crazy because I was calling nonprofits. And my friend Andrew had said, "Hey, you want to go get a pizza?" And I was like, "No." I saw my name on the plasma screen and it was still near the bottom. And I saw Charlie, who is just imagine the sales version of a Ken doll with a headset. This was Charlie, and he had 4 sales already for that day. And I was like, "No, freaking Charlie's at 4. I gotta keep calling." Because around 2 o'clock, it's not even worth calling the East Coast anymore, where most of the U.S. population is. And so I was like, I'm just going to call till 2. And around 1:30, I just this lady named, I think it was Sheila. This lady named Sheila gave me a piece of her mind and basically said, "Why are you even in sales?" And I hung up the phone. I put my headset on the charger, and I said, I think it's time for lunch." And I looked at the plasma screen, still said 0. There was only one name below mine, and that was just because they had a last name that started with the letter Z. And I went to lunch at Whole Foods and got a pizza slice, got the meat lovers, and I went over to walk toward my table. And this gentleman at a sample table said, "Hey, would you want to try some Oregon wine?" And I felt I didn't really feel like I earned it, but I felt like I needed it. And I said, "Why the heck not?" And so he said, "You want white or red?" And I said, I don't discriminate. It surprised me. And he said, "Let's start with white. We have 4 today." And I tried the wine. He's like, "Hey, do you like the labels on your wine looking kind of cool?" And I was like, "I do definitely notice if the label looks cool." And he showed me a picture of 2 goats completely wasted as the label. And I was like, "That's funny." And then he asked "Hey, do you ever get headaches after drinking wine?" He's like, "Yeah, I wasn't sure what it was, but I definitely notice after drinking red wine, I get a headache." He's like, "That's because a lot of wines," he said, "are sprayed a lot to keep bugs off, and you have to spray it, but we spray as little as humanly possible because of where the wine's grown. And we find people have 50% less headaches with drinking our wine." I was like, "That's cool." And then as we went on to the Oregon Pinot, Love and Oregon Pinot, he asked, hey, like, do you have any wine for the next date that you're gonna have? And I was like, well, I don't have a date in the queue. He's like, well, yeah, of course, but like, do you have a wine ready where you'll both enjoy the wine? And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, oh, well, this wine, people who like Cab, he's like, do you like Cab? I was like, I love Cabernet. He's like, this is a Pinot that like Cab lovers love, and the ladies also will be a fan of. The whole table will enjoy it. I was like, oh, sweet. And at the end of his little presentation, he asked, do you like wines that cost $40 or ones that cost $20? He's like, I don't know if you see, I'm like eating a slice of pizza at Whole Foods. Like, I like the wine that's $20. And I was like, yeah, awesome. He's like, do you want a white, or like, did you like the red or the white one more? I was like, I really liked that Pinot that tasted a little bit like a Cab. And he's like, that's what most people like. Do you want one bottle or two? And I was like, I'll just do one. I'm balling on a budget. And I gave him my credit card, bought a wine, and went over to my table. And I was like, what the heck just happened? I just like bought wine that I didn't even know I wanted or needed. Didn't go here for wine. Like me calling people out of the blue, he just asked me some questions. And somehow I had wine in my hand. And as I left, finishing my slice of meat lover's pizza at Whole Foods, I walked over to him and I said, how did you do that? He's like, do what? It's like, how did you make me buy that wine? He's like, you just said how I did it. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you bought the wine. People love buying stuff. He's like, no one wants to be sold to. I hate being sold to. And so I just figure out what people need to buy and I help them buy it. And I said, something in my head clicked. And I said, thank you. And he said, thank you. And I walked back to the office and sat for a second, looking out the window. Praise the Lord, I had one of the 8 desks by the window. And something clicked. I was like, people talk to people to survive. And maybe that's not sexy, but it's true. Any conversation that I have, I'm interested in the conversation because, oh, you know the coolest coffee spot. Or you know how to better eat protein so you get big deltoids. Or you like know how to like have more peace in this crazy chaotic world. And especially in regards to sales, you get a live feed in talking to people if you're good or bad at talking about survival, because people will hang up on you if they don't feel like they're going to survive in talking to you. And so I just was like, I need to like, if I'm not talking to these people with a problem that I help them survive through, it's not about the product. It's not about me. It's about them. It's about them surviving. And if we're not talking about that, why are we talking? And they made it very clear to me that they weren't interested in talking. And so I switched just a little bit into asking more questions and talking less and figuring out like, hey, like why are we talking and why would the thing that I have be important to you? And about an hour later, I hung up the phone and I looked at the plasma screen. And the plasma screen went from 0 to 1. 1 sale. And my name went to like the center of the board. Still a decent distance from Charlie, who is now at 5. But I noticed that people talk to people to survive. And I think it applies to every aspect of conversation. And so I wonder if instead of saying, how are you, we can say like, where have you found peace? Instead of saying or bragging like I recorded at this studio, I can say like, there's this thing I thought was impossible and I figured out how to do it. And instead of being scared to talking to strangers, maybe we get excited about the information that they have that I don't. And yeah, and so this song is about talking to humans and just a little 1-minute reminder of maybe a decent framework of how to do it. And maybe it's easy as cake. I talk to them It's easy as cake. Watch their words and listen to the sentences they bake. Ask a question like some frosting that you think they'll like. Soon the conversation like dessert is sweet and nice. You say you got fresh Fuji apples on a tree. Have you ever tried with Tillamook cheddar cheese? That would pair with this white wine that tastes like lemon salt. I'll bring a bottle Friday, but I forget what it's called. How do you survive? Have you found some peace? Let's get talking, I'll tell you. Please tell me. How you talk to them, it's easy as cake. Watch their words and listen to the sentences they bake. Thank you for joining me in this journey to be a little less stupid. I hope you feel a little more comfortable in talking to humans and understanding that we talk to them to survive, and just reframing the conversation with that in mind. Please subscribe, leave 5 stars, and text this podcast to a friend and just let them know, hey, this like gave me a little more peace in having a conversation with these crazy humans down the street. And we'll see you next week. Next week.